Hello everyone, this is Human Spore and Doll Spore here, and this is the third video in my doll profile series. So today we will be talking about the glorious Spore, my first SD doll. But before I talk about him, there was one more doll that I did get before I got Spore, and that was my 5-star doll, Rhea, who was named Max, and he was a USD sized doll, and he was with me for a little while. I had his face done up, I had an outfit done up as Max from Beyblade for him, and I also took him to Disney World with me, so I had photos of him at Disney. But I have since sold him. It's been a very long time since I sold him, but I thought he would be an honorable mention because I was looking back through my videos to see the order of dolls that I purchased, and I realized that Max did come home before I had my third doll, Spore. So once I had gotten Maddie and Nora, the first two dolls, I spent a year doing BJD Addicts prompts and playing with those two dolls before I started getting more dolls, and I decided to go into some boy dolls. So I had my first boy, who was a USD, who was Max, and he was actually on a girl body because I was afraid of the large male parts that the tiny boys had from 5-star doll. And then I got Spore here, who is a Crobidoll June, and he has his proper man body as an adult man should. So this is Spore. He has the company face up from Crobidoll. However, I did ask them to do a few alterations to the default face up for me. He is a sculpt that has painted on tiny teeth, but I did not love the teeth, so I asked them to kindly not paint them on for me. So he has a small gap in his mouth, you can kind of see there, where the teeth would have been painted on, but they're not sculpted in, so it's just a little bit of an open mouth. I need to even look at it again. Yeah, he's just a bit of an open mouth gap. Where the teeth were painted, but I did not have them paint teeth for me. So yes, I've got the default face up, but it does have a bit of an alteration to it. Now this doll was a really big deal when I got him. Not only was he my first SD, so he's my first really large doll, but Spore is a character that I have been writing about for years and years and years. And the character of Spore actually originated when I used to kind of just experiment with gender via the website Gaia Online. So I kind of, as a teenager, posed as a boy named Spore, and it was really just all about the character that I created on Gaia as my avatar, and he had purple hair and he wore sparkly clothes and he was kind of ditzy and a little bit stupid. Not the smartest guy in the world. And I would just kind of play out this character as I talked to people in the forums. Just kind of as a role play. It was a role play idea, and then I started writing stories about him and how he was just a silly, kind of really clueless guy who had ended up in all these situations, and they often were stories that would begin with some sort of a tragedy and then end in a tragedy again. So it kind of came full circle, like, oh, he did this ridiculous thing, look at what happened. Now all of these things happen, and then again he's back in this ridiculous situation. So if that makes any sense to you whatsoever, that was the type of stories that I liked to write about this character. And so I started incorporating Maddie and Nora into these stories as well once I had bought dolls of them and started making characters about them as well. So I figured I'd better put Spore in a doll form because he was a character that was near and dear to my heart. And so I searched high and low, and I looked all over the place for the perfect sculpt. I was looking for an MSD. I had lists and lists of different dolls I thought might be a good fit for Spore, and I was not finding what I was looking for in the MSD form, so I went to SD, and that is where I found Crobidoll, and I fell in love with this sculpt. This body is a nightmare. Do not get the R-line body. I'm just warning you, it's very bad, but he's quite yellow now, and this is what we've got. But this sculpt is lovely. Now when I got this doll, I was intending for him to have purple hair, dressed pretty flamboyantly. That was the character that I had created. And I normally don't even like fur wigs, but I got this wig for free at the first time I went to Doll North. It's a Spite and Malice black fur wig, and for some reason, for all of these years, it's been about 7 years, he's been wearing this wig, and I like it on him. I like styling it, I like being able to stick it up, I like brushing it, the texture is nice. I don't know, I love this wig for him, and he's my favorite doll, and normally I can't stand a fur wig, but for some reason it works for him. So the only original thing that I've kept basically from his character in terms of like the old roleplay character is just his green eyes. So he still has his green eyes. They're quite beautiful and sparkly. They're 16mm. And he also has a leaf necklace because my original character in Gaia always wore a leaf on his head. So I did make a leaf for his head, and then after some time I stopped using it. He also is supposed to have glasses, so I have a number of pairs of glasses for him, but they were chipping his face up, so I stopped putting them on him because I was paranoid, and I have since repaired. His face up looks pretty good. I've repaired it and recoated it many times. I've tried working with this body. It's sueded. It has these weird elbows. I don't know if you can see, but they kind of just... yeah, I don't know. He's got these weird elbows. He had jointed hands for a time, and I didn't love them, and they were also slightly too large, so I did get rid of those. I've also changed the way that his hand is a little bit. His hand, you can see, kind of curves down, but it used to be completely almost flat, and it just looked so silly. It was like he was doing this, so I did boil his hand and then sculpt it a little bit. His other hand is kind of a pointy hand, so I think I may have done something with these fingers a bit as well, but his hands have been boiled and I've reshaped them very slightly. It's terrifying when you boil resin. Like, it's soft, it becomes pliable, you can like just squish it, so it was really terrifying, but I have done that, and I can actually see he's so dirty. Yes, so this doll is 7 years old and he is very dirty. I got him in, what year was that? 2012? I think in February, early in the year. I ordered him around Christmas time. And yeah, I've had him all this time. His knees, oh, what's this body? His knees are single jointed and they hold two poses and they snap. He doesn't stand up very well, and his chest has a joint in it, but doesn't really do anything. He looks very emaciated. So yeah, don't love this body. He's on the Crobidoll R-line body. This is the body he came on. He is definitely yellowed over this time. I mean, I'm sure if I cleaned him off and gave him a fresh coat of MSC that would help, but I've done that many times over the years, so, and I really haven't been super careful with him. I took him around with me a lot, so he's just a bit of a mess, but he's beautiful. So in terms of character, he is, like I said, he's a bit of like a not the smartest bulb. He is very kind-hearted and means well. He loves his friends and will do anything for them. But he also gets himself into a lot of sticky situations just from being naive and just from like people taking advantage of him, because he's just such a sweetheart and just wants everyone to get along, and he wants everyone to be pleased. So he's just a general sweetheart, and just a kind-hearted person who doesn't quite realize how ridiculous he is. He is in a relationship with one of my other dolls, Paige, my Soul Doll Star, who we will be talking about eventually when I get there. So he does have a partner, and he does also have a shell of his younger version that I have as an MST. I'll tell more of the story about that when I get to that doll, but Lutz released an MST years later that I thought would be just the perfect version of Spore as a younger, like in a younger form. So that kind of changed my whole story and my whole doll universe just from that as well. But this is his adult version. And the name Spore just came from my Gaia avatar. My Gaia avatar's name was Spore of the Unspoken. I have literally no idea where that came from, but he does have headphones with little mushrooms on them, which is related to spores. It's a ridiculous name. I really, honestly, I don't even know where it came from, but it stuck. It was my avatar's name. And so I kind of retroactively gave each of the letters a name. His name is Spencer, Peyton, Oren, Remy, Eli, were just names that I liked for all of those letters, S-P-O-R-E. And the character does live with his mom. He lives with a single mom. His story is that his dad didn't even really know that he existed. This is getting a little weird and personal in terms of this doll, but Spore is the product of a one-night stand between his not very smart, pretty clueless dad and his regular, like, quirky, smart mom. And I don't have a doll for his mom. His mom I kind of just, like, personify as myself, kind of. I'm not in this situation at all. I don't have any children. Like, this is not real. But when I think about his mom, I just kind of think about myself. I don't know. Some weird character brain thing. Anyway, so I'm kind of Spore's mom. But also I'm called Spore. And also I used to work for a company called Mad Science, where I was a scientist at children's after-school clubs and birthday parties, and we needed a science name, so I called myself Spore because I was already used to being called Spore, and worked out really well. And I also tricked all the children into believing that was my real name, so that was a good time. So that's the story of Spore. He is a Crobidoll June on the Crobidoll R-Line body. This doll is still for sale. It is still a default doll that you can purchase from the Crobidoll website. I don't see a ton of him, but he is extremely expensive, so that might have something to do with it. He is probably my most expensive doll that I ever purchased because I did buy him as a full doll from the company, and I have not done that a ton since I started hybriding all of my more expensive dolls. But like, this was one of my first dolls, and all of my first few dolls were direct from the company. So before I started hybridizing, that was the option for me. So he is a full original doll from 2012-ish, I think 2012. And yeah, he is not going anywhere in my collection. He's definitely staying with me through thick and thin. I love this doll, and I'm not just saying that. He is legitimately so gorgeous. So I really hope nothing happens to his default face up ever, because that would be very sad for me. So yeah, that's the story of Spore. He is a gem. Rest in peace, Max, the 5-star doll that I sold many moons ago. But yeah, that's it, I guess. So thank you for watching. Tune in next time. I'm still keeping up with this. Proud of myself. So I'll see you again soon. Have a good day, guys. Bye-bye.